wig and did not know what to say. It left me sort of startled and confused. Red lips and white makeup and those big old red shoes. But my daddy tore a knot in me for being so damn rude. He said, son, don't you know that clowns are people too? Clowns are people too. Big red shoes. Clowns are people too. Don't be rude. If you weren't a bit lucky, then this could easily be you. I met your mom when she was up on that old trapeze. What can I say, but hey, I had a thing for circus freaks. I started watching Bozo and warmed to the movie It. Killer Clowns from Outer Space to me was a big hit. Some people like McDonald's because of Mayor McCheese, but Ronald is my homeboy now, and Krusty and Pinky. Clowns are people too. Big red shoes. Clowns are people too. Don't be rude. If you weren't a bit lucky, then this could easily be you. I met your mom when she was up on that old trapeze. What can I say, but hey, I had a thing for circus freaks. Clowns are people too. Clowns are people too. Now I own some tiny horns and got me those red shoes. I don't know much, but know one thing that's true. If you don't know anything, just know that clowns are people too.
Welcome to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, part of the Chief Sports Network.
Mad Dog's upstate raised and reared up near the tater patch. He flirted with that upstate team, now bleeds garnet and black. It's been almost 2 decades since JC started Big Spur. He may live outside of Chicago, but he's all Spartanburg. It's the show, the Gamecock Show. ITG, Phil and JC, it's the show. It's fun and entertainment, but also information, things you cannot get on radio. It's the show. Gather around, all you Gamecocks, it's the show. The show. Let's go. JC and Mad Dog Mully on the Gamecock Show.
Welcome in, everybody, inside the Gamecocks, the show. Phil Mad Dog Mullinax here. JC Shurburtt in as well for you today. Got lots of things popping, crystal balls dropping, all sorts of recruiting news. We got another opportunity for the Gamecocks men's basketball team to find a way to win. Not necessarily the best opportunity for them, but it's on the road at Stegman in Athens against Georgia this evening. And listen, as daunting as some of the opponents have been leading up into this, I feel like, JC, it just takes one, right? You need one little taste of victory, and then you learn how from there. But anyway, afternoon, rather.
Morning.
How you doing?
Just like, great. That's like Will Muschamp said. The fun is in the winning. That's true. He said a lot of true things. The great philosopher, Will Muschamp. He actually said a lot. I actually did say a lot of things I agree with that I repeat often. But, Steve Spurrier also talked about winning being fun and things of that nature. So, yeah.
Uh-oh. I believe JC is needs to reload himself. That's all right. Here we are. Red state up there. It's not necessarily red, blue means red. Communist state up there in Illinois has gotten JC's internet. Apparently he either needs to pay more or needs to fall in line and just dig right in. But anyway, no, we were talking about it. Listen, turnovers obviously have killed this team. 76 in the past 4 games, completely unacceptable. And I mean, literally, you eliminate 10% of those, and more than likely you come away with wins. This team has the talent to be able to pull off some wins in conference. They just have yet to put all the tools and pieces together. And this might be a prime opportunity for them tonight.
Yeah, sorry about that. I pay too much money to these people for my internet to honest to God, I have 2 different internet servers in here. Nobody's here except my stepson. No, my wife isn't working from home today. This is just unacceptable. I think they screw with it a little bit. Like when it's a busy time, everybody's at lunch, they're on Facebook or whatever.
Got to throttle it back like
they're going to throttle it back like they do with power sometimes. That, man, I mean, that ticks me off. I'm sorry about that. But the fun's in the winning. My whole thing with basketball team this week's been empathy. I empathize with Lamont Paris. I feel bad. I think Whittle feels the same way after listening to part of his interview from yesterday's edition of the morning show. And a lot of people should. I mean, Lamont Paris is coaching his butt off. I mean, if you talk about in-game coaching, teams not quitting, and all the things leaders do, which is what a coach is, he's doing a fantastic job just keeping them in games, keeping their heads straight. Because in today's era of NIL and the portal and in basketball, you've had mass transfers for years. Easy thing to do. I mean, look what happened to Missouri last year. Easy thing to do is just mail it in. And I don't know that it's fair to even say Missouri mailed it in last year. They played some competitive games down the stretch, even though they went 0-19. But it's hard. It's hard to keep a team together, to keep them fighting, and he's done that. I'd just like to see him win, not only because I'd like to see them win, Phil, but it's they deserve it. They deserve something to go their way. Carolina's beaten Georgia like a mule, for 16 years. Yeah, since the Gamecocks lost to 3 times a year that kept them out of the NCAA tournament. They've rolled over the Bugs. That's a team they should have some confidence with. They beat them in Athens last year. Georgia's much better. And this shows you how tough this league is. They're 2-5 in the league. It's only 2 games better than Carolina in the standings. So we'll see what happens with all that. Certainly, I've kind of after Saturday, I'm just taking a different approach. I know I've kind of a little critical. And I don't think it's undue criticism. It's sloppy basketball. It still is. But I think that you get to a point in the season where, a lot of people, probably aren't huge basketball fans. They're just kind of not watch or whatever. And I think I'm just going to tune in to appreciate the effort. Winning and losing is great, but going to appreciate the effort. I met some of these guys. They're all good guys. They all love being at Carolina. Obviously Lamont Paris loves being at Carolina, and he's coaching them very hard and trying not to let it sink too far down. But it's kind of is what it is at this point. So, Charles in the Nana Sports chat box says, I just want to see him play smart and aggressive in crunch time. Charles, that goes into the whole thing with when we talk about knowing how to win. Yeah, that's what that is. They want to win, but they just don't know how. So that's kind of the deal there. I think that, like Phil said, though, once you win one and you kind of figure it out, then maybe there's a chance you can go on and win another one. And my dream of the NIT will probably be brief with a few more losses because they have to go 6-5 to make it. I think that's the rule. I don't think you can get in with a losing overall record But you get an auto bid in the Power 5 conferences. I guess there's 5 in basketball or 6. So you get an auto bid and finish the next 2 out. And the SEC is getting 12 most likely in the tournament. I mean, it's going to set some kind of record most likely, at least according to Lenardi and all those cats. So if you finish 13th or 14th, which is never what you want to finish, but you can make the NIT with this group, get some of these younger players, Arden Conyers and the like better, that's fine. I think that, at the end of the day, once this season's over, there's going to be a lot of decisions, depending on how it finishes up, a lot of decisions that have to be made and a lot of help they need to get on the recruiting trail. Also through the transfer portal, there needs to be more NIL money for this program, obviously. And I apologize because I'm usually responsible for keeping you guys informed on NIL, and basketball's budget was a lot better than it was last year. And you kind of sit there and think, Phil, well, if they only had X last year and they went to the tournament and won 26 games, this year with more budget and some returning players, they should be fine. And then, let me back up for a minute, Phil. I'm not blaming NIL for this. I think there's just been things that happen in sports. In other words, guys didn't make the jump they were supposed to make. They played inconsistent. Cam Scott is not what they thought he was, and nobody in the country would have turned him down. Right? They did miss on some guards before they landed on Thomas, but you look at those guys and it's like, well, they're good, but how much of a difference would they have made?
Right?
Are they good dribblers? You do have Eli Ellis, a sharpshooter coming in next year. He's going to be fun to watch. But
and he seems like he's locked in too. So I don't know if anybody needs to worry about him kind of falling off the boat, even with the season as it's going now. But listen, NIL has zero influence once the ball gets thrown up in the air for tip off.
I will say this though, Phil. These other schools went and spent wisely. And just like in football, where nobody talks about the retention part of it. I mean, Janai Broome coming back to Auburn, that guy. Because in basketball, even if you don't go to the NBA, you can make a living overseas playing the game if you're good. I mean, all these guys are good enough. Missouri got some guys in. I mean, they did a good job. I think Vanderbilt did a good job. I don't know what their NIL situation is, but putting a team together. And I think Lamont Paris did fine. I mean, they won a battle with Kansas State for Pringle. Lots of schools wanted him. They kept Colin Murray Boyles, retained him, their budding star. They flipped Cam Scott from Texas. They missed on a couple of guards and then, got Thomas, and he was acceptable. You're returning Jacoby Wright as a role player. I mean, you look at it, Lamont Paris is catching a lot of flack. I mean, I saw somebody called it atrocious roster management. I don't know that I agree with that, because I think most coaches with any sense would have done similarly, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, you don't expect guys to not take a step. You don't expect guys to get worse, and it's not like they're trying to make them worse in practice. That doesn't happen. It's just sometimes it's up to the individual to play the game smart, or if they're in a slump, to get out of it. And these guys are playing hard. They're just not playing smart or well at times. And so we'll see what happens tonight, but that's the deal there. I just wanted to say that about Lamont. I mean, I've seen him catching some straight, no really going in hard on the paint and the coaching part of it, right? X's and O's, in-game stuff. But they are going in on roster management, talking about how to recruit. I'm like, well, look, let's take you back a year. Let's take you to, like, where was the program when he took over? You had the Gigi Jackson year, lost year, zero NIL. Trust me. It's like squeezing blood out of a turnip to get Jackson taken care of that season. They get everybody back. They go in the portal, and if you can't recruit, you're not getting BJ Mack. Everybody but him. And he wanted to stay close to home. They went and found Talon Cooper. They kept Meechie Johnson around. I mean, that's recruiting. That's not if you expect any basketball coach to come in here with this program and start recruiting like John Calipari at Arkansas, which hasn't paid off, or start to land dudes like, name your coach, then you got another thing coming. South Carolina basketball is just not there. It's just not attractive to a lot of your top talent. You got to kind of find guys, get guys. The in-state situation, you got to turn that, and Lamont has. So I'm standing up for him a little bit on this recruiting thing. Yes, this roster has issues as it relates to the rest of the SEC, especially. And yes, there probably needs to be overhaul. But this is not a situation where a coach just arrogantly went out like Paul Johnson at Georgia Tech ball style and said, I'm just going to get whoever and I'll out coach everybody. That Lamont Paris isn't. I mean, that's not what he does. It's just there's a lot of factors that have come into play here with regards to how the season's gone. So I just I just think that it's just been unfortunate. Kreger says Pringle was supposed to make much bigger of an impact. Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. So, that's the deal there. So anyway, bask on the football. I've got a lot to say today and a lot to ask the board, Phil. And we have a stupid list here.
That's right.
I think I'm seeing a spinny circle of death.
Oh, you're still on. You're still on. So we're good.
Man. I mean, look, during the break, I want to connect to the different internet, but this is my own. I mean, I'm the only one that connects to this. I have no idea what the problem is. Nevertheless, that's the last time I'm going to say about it, because you don't want to hear me gripe about the internet, but you certainly don't want me to I'm playing that game of telephone with the tin cans. All right, so this morning I glanced at ESPN, and Bill Connelly, not my favorite person, not my favorite writer. I think he clings to his little metrics and takes little smart ass shots at teams, and it's funny. And I haven't liked him since SB Nation. Just not my cup of tea. Not that he's a clown or does anything wrong. A lot of people swear by him. I just don't. Right? Personally, that's just not my thing. So I log on today and I look and I see he's got playoff predictions. I'm like, well, this is about as work. This is as valuable to me as going and buying an actual physical newspaper and wiping my dog's ass with it. Right. And so I'm not even going to look at it. I looked at it because is there something relevant to my audience I can talk about? And I see at the top, he's got playoff bracket for next year. And he's got a really interesting matchup with Carolina and Georgia in the 7-10. Like, oh, Carolina, his little formula must think Carolina's going to the playoff. Didn't read the rest of the article. So put me on stupid list for not reading the rest of it, because I talked about it on coffee this morning. I was like, yeah, and I mentioned not my bag of tea, but hey, and imagine Carolina Georgia playoff game in the first round.
Whew.
Now it would be in Athens, but if it's a Columbia or Athens, that's a heck of a deal. Right? That would be kind of as emotional as those games have been when they're early in the season. It used to be the first SEC game back in the day, and really recently too. Both crowds are into it. I mean, it's usually not late, but it's 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be an incredible atmosphere in the first round. But I didn't read the whole article, so I went back. I was looking and I look and like, no. That was based on Mark Schlabach's way too early rankings.
Yeah, and
that was the start of it. And then he gets into it. I was like, listen to this, because this could be a stupid list entry. I don't know if it's quite stupid, it's like bomb material, but so he's got Georgia. And I read today in The Athletic, Georgia, the youngest team in Kirby Smart's tenure, 49 true freshmen or redshirt freshmen of the 90 on the roster. So they're number 1, according to Bill Connelly. I don't know that his machine spit that out. 2 Penn State, 3 Utah, 4 Louisville. He's 2 ACC teams. The other one, not Clemson. North Carolina. Now, maybe. I mean, Max Johnson is back for what, year number 9?
Right. Yeah,
So
I don't
they
know
got
how
a
old he
quarterback.
is.
So for Louisville, a 5-12 game, Boise at Bama, 6-11 game, North Carolina at Texas. Enter your Mac Brown comments. LSU at Notre Dame, 10-7, and Michigan, Ohio State rematch in 8-9. That's never going to happen. If that happens, I'll apologize to my audience, not to him. He deserves what criticism he gets. All right, so whatever. I mean, this guy actually he said South Carolina's really bad, in an article. I think it was right before Carolina almost beat Alabama on the road. When Bama was only 1-point favorite. They're really bad. Yeah, whatever. Missouri was really bad at times this year, man. That's his team. So, anyway, I just thought that was ridiculous. So my question becomes this, because I'm looking at the bracket and I'm thinking, and Clemson's schedule's out. I think everybody's talked it to death already. To me, just briefly on that, it does look tougher than last year, but it looked tough going into this season. You open with Georgia, App State, NC State, Florida State going into the year. People were talking about NC State as a fringe playoff team. App State as a state. Florida State was expected to not miss a beat. The redemption of DJU game all just fell apart. And Clemson ended up with a pretty favorable schedule because just about all the teams they played that were supposed to be tough tanked, including Pitt and Virginia Tech at the end of the year on the road. So it looks tougher. Will it end up being? I don't know. But I'll say that about every schedule. And so here's my question. I was looking at the 7-10 game, Notre Dame LSU. And Notre Dame was in the 7-10 game this year. And I started thinking, well, then, Notre Dame should have been the 6 instead of Penn State. And Penn State got to play the Ponies from SMU. And I love the MU program. I watch Pony Express. It's not, I'm not being ugly to them. They just didn't belong in the dang playoffs, no matter how you sliced it. And certainly didn't belong as an 11 seed. Over Clemson, who beat them. But head-to-head's supposed to matter. No. Your pretty record there's more. That's proof right there that they got pretty record syndrome, Phil.
Yeah.
Because Clemson dominated most of that game. And they talk about game control and all this BS. They dominated that game, but then they're like, no, they're 11 and get to go to Penn State and got to go to Texas, no matter what. Because 3 loss versus 2 loss, right? The head-to-head and somehow magically did not matter when they were seeing this. So here's my question. What if, all right, so and this is for the Nana Sports chat box too, so you guys answer. What if Ole Miss had played Notre Dame instead of Indiana? Let's just think about that hypothetical matchup. Does Notre Dame get out of the first round? And then do it for Penn State and Alabama. I'll take the Gamecocks completely out of it. Are we even talking about a Big Ten renaissance here? We're probably still talking about Ohio State winning it all. But that's my question, Phil. Does Notre Dame – would Notre Dame and this year's Ole Miss team, that Ole Miss D-line, and those weapons they have, and Lane Kiffin dialing up the plays, and I know South Bend there will be weather, are they able to go in there and beat them? I would say yes.
I would think so too. I mean, you're obviously got there's a talent difference between the two rosters that is immediately standing out, right? And what we saw was when Notre Dame went up against a more talented team, top to bottom, they got beat. It just is what it is. Like they didn't run into a lot of that during the regular season, just the way that their schedule stacks up. But when you ran into the $20 million roster, you got cut. And Ole Miss is not necessarily 20 million. I'm sure it's just a hair short of that, but it's plenty of damn money being spent there to not only get players in, but retain the good ones on the roster. And they may have fallen short.
And I know they beat Georgia, right? Because people are probably like, well, they beat Georgia. They did beat Georgia. It's hard to beat Georgia. Georgia hasn't lost that often. Are we taking into account that Georgia and Notre Dame both had some injuries they had to deal with? I don't know that Georgia beats Notre Dame with Carson Beck, because Carson Beck wasn't Superman this year.
No.
Georgia, I mean, it wasn't the best Georgia team Kirby's had. I think he did the best coaching job because they were clearly the SEC champs. At the end of the day, they went through the fire and won and got out alive. They beat Texas twice. They beat Tennessee like a drum. They lost at Alabama for falling behind in the first half, and they lost to Ole Miss. But this Ole Miss team's different. When Ole Miss played up to its potential this year, and they didn't always, but when they did and didn't have an off game, they played pretty doggone well. And Matt in the chat box points out that Ole Miss looked bad in their loss. They did.
Yeah.
I don't think they looked that great against Mississippi State at the end. I don't think they looked that great against Oklahoma. But when they turned it on, and you put that bunch in a playoff situation with Lane Kiffin dialing up ball plays and using their speed to their advantage, I think it's a different game. Would Alabama have beaten Penn State? That's a better question, because I don't know. I don't know what
it's
are
more
we talking about
game.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, are we talking? Yeah, it's much more competitive than SMU. That's not a question. But are we talking about the Alabama team that beat LSU in Baton Rouge by 29, and Milrose running all over the place, and they're actually carrying on defense? How many turnovers does Drew Lamar have? I don't know. I think that's a more fair question. So that's the deal there. So that's just very interesting. I kind of thought about that as a question to throw out on the board today, because you start thinking about matchups in the first round. They were all duds for the most part. Clemson and Texas certainly was competitive, at least for a while in the second half after Clemson kind of came back. But I just, I don't know. I think if we're going to have a 12-team playoff, probably need to think about the best. Think about this. I don't know. Seeing this bird brain North Carolina pick, I'm not going to put him on the stupid list, because I'm sure I'll have a reason to later. Put me on the stupid list, but also put this article on the stupid list, because I was like, unbelievable. What so that's
he's got Louisville and North Carolina.
I'm like, this isn't the NCAA basketball tournament.
I know. I mean,
I don't even know who North Carolina has coming back.
That was my question: is what are they bringing in, and who are they bringing back? Like, do we even know yet? You literally just signed your coach last week, so what?
Now, I'll say this: I think, just from a recruiting and evaluation standpoint, Phil, with Bill Belichick, if he holds to form, now he is in his 70s, so we'll see. I think you're gonna see kind of a master class in talent evaluation at North Carolina. He was literally laughing at everybody last year that were talking about all the quarterbacks being generational and stuff like that. And he kind of picked all of them apart. Daniels, and Nick Saban actually told him Daniels was the toughest one, but he was laughing. And I just think that when you listen to Nick Saban talk about, and Nick, I don't know him personally. Coach Saban is much more open now that he's out of coaching about what he used to do. When you talk about the critical factors in recruiting, that it's a checklist. How big is he? How fast is he? That stuff. He got that from Bill Belichick. So I think when you watch their players, no matter how long he's there, it's going to be similar to Bill O'Brien, who actually coached for Belichick at Penn State, I think, with, you got a class that's like 3-star city, but all these guys, a bunch of them are ballers. So we'll see what happens there. Anyway, I know it's time for the first break, so let's get out of here. Inside Gamecocks The Show, brought to you by Palm Casual. Everybody from Mike Morgan to Jamie Bradford, everybody in between has been buying from Palm Casual. Be sure to check them out. Also, Road Pros from the Midlands. We'll be back after these messages as Inside the Gamecocks The Show rolls on.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Hey Gamecock Nation, my name is Kyle, longtime listener of the show and avid golfer. I wanted to take my game to the next level, but let's face it, golf is a hard game to learn on your own. I heard the ad from McKellar Enterprises and reached out to the owner and former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. In just 2 months of working with Meredith, I shot my lowest round ever and I've never felt more confident in my golf game. So if you're looking to take your game to the next level, go to McKellarEnterprises.org and book your lesson today with former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. Go Gamecocks.
Think about that old ride of yours. The carpools, the road trips, the heavy hauls, date nights, and the dings and the dents and the sticky spills and cracker crumbs, and that smell that really never goes away. Do you really want to start the new year in the same old ride? Or is it time for a fresh start? Now's the time for incredible New Year's savings at Love Chevrolet on the entire lineup of award-winning vehicles. Love has more new Chevys on the lot than any other dealer in the Midlands, in the color, style, features you've been looking for. With New Year's savings and Love's famous low price guarantee, your new ride in 25 will be invigorating, exhilarating, and affordable too.
back.
South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer, I-26 at Harbison, and online at lovechevy.com.
Right,
Together, let's drive.
That's the power of love. Love Chevy.
When you bundle home and auto, good
All
things
right.
can happen. You
Phil,
get a local
bring it
agent who can help you choose the right coverage
Can't
for
let-
you at a price that's right for you.
Hey, look,
Call
this has
State
been a
Farm agent
technical
Tony
fun.
Pope
I mean, dude,
today.
I came out blazing. And
You
and
did.
technical
Everything
issues.
looks great.
God's trying to tell me something.
It's on
today.
your end, though,
Calm
every last
down.
bit of it, because the videos were playing.
Well, what happened?
Even on the internet. I have no idea.
Oh, they were playing?
Yeah, they were playing.
Dear
That's why I'm
God,
typing in the
man.
chat. I'm like, no, no.
Well, you got to be a little bit more with your no.
I do.
I was trying to save it. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
You're
Anyway,
good, man.
I'm
You're
probably-
good.
I just, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to calm down a little bit. Thanks for joining us here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Nana's Porch Chat Box. Craig mentions if Ole Miss got up early on Notre Dame, it would be Coitons. Coitons. Yeah. See, it'll be Coitons for you. See. But yeah, so that's that there. But yeah, it's just interesting to kind of go back and look at it. And I looked at that 7-10 Georgia South Carolina thing. It got me excited just because the Georgia South Carolina game. It's 98 degrees, either Columbia or Athens. Everybody's sweating bourbon.
Right. Yeah, it'd be interesting to have that environment in a 50-degree setting, right?
Yeah, everybody's bundled up, but they're still barking and drinking bourbon. Probably so are the Gamecocks, but I mean that'd be a tough too. I think,
Man,
in
I
Athens
wonder
or
what
Columbia.
the visiting ticket allotment would be for that. I don't know.
Oh, it's always 30. It's always
3,500. That's it. That's
that's the
ridiculous.
playoff set that, which I think stupid.
That's absolutely
put that on the.
asinine.
We're gonna put that on the stupid list, Phil.
Yes,
The
that's
playoff
right.
college, but the stupid list actually needs its own like college football playoff section. I think
It should.
things that
It
are
should
stupid.
because there's so much stupidity that goes on from that little corner of the world.
No. I Nana's Porch Chat Box. If you guys have some recruiting questions, we can jump into that. I went through a lot of it on coffee. There are some crystal balls in. Jamie mentioned it in the show and kind of teased that we talk about it, so we'll talk about it. I put one in, Phil, for 4-star receiver Ryan Mosley from Carrollton, basically because I like the feedback I'd gotten about him, but also based on, our good friend Clint here in the Nana Sports chat box.
That's right.
Clint inspired me to do that. Clint has no crystal ball himself, but if he did, he would have put it in for Mosley. And I'm like, I should do that. And it's kind of funny because I was kind of talking about, like, in general, how at 24/7 Sports, everybody needs to do the crystal ball more the other day.
Yes.
And I don't think Hale was listening, but he read my mind. So Hale, yes, McGranahan goes all in. Picked Rodney Dunham, 4-star DN, big-time player out of Charlotte Myers Park that the Gamecocks are on. Also put a crystal ball in for Tamarian Watkins from Northwestern and Rock Hill. Most people do think he's going to come to Carolina. Georgia has offered, speaking of dogs. I'm sure Travaris Robinson and that will be all over. He's a big, freaky guy. But Hill went ahead and put in the crystal ball. South Carolina's pretty good at getting players out of Rock Hill. And then you're going down the list, and Joshua Sam Appel, the 2027 Mammoth offensive lineman out of Douglas County, Georgia, with a slew of offers. Clint said he watched the film. Good grief, he's huge. Yeah, and he moves well, too. He's not just a big robotic guy. I'd like to see that kid. Remember I told you about Urban Meyer talking about how he likes to see offensive linemen play basketball?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that was like, I would love to see this kid play basketball and see what he does. I mean, just because, and that would be for me the difference. Well, is he, he's obviously a top recruit. Everybody wants him, but is he a big guy that you've got to coach up, or is he a franchise type left tackle dude? Because that would be with that kind of those kind of measurables, Phil, if the athleticism is there, then that's a franchise type dude. Now, don't get too excited if he does commit as is expected to the Gamecocks here in the coming weeks, because it's too early. It's too early. If it's not a quarterback or in-state, it's too early. And we know, and this guy's got too much attention for me to really trust any kind of early commit, unless he committed to Georgia, because the Georgia kids will stick, although they stick less than they used to. And there's a ton of good players in Georgia. Georgia can't take them all. So that's the deal there. Nana Sports Chat Box Cam says, JC, is Kennard actually playing in the Senior Bowl? I think so.
I
don't know
less
why
about
why
playing though than it is about the practices, right? That's what everybody's kind of paying attention.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, and that's the way any like national all-star games in recruiting. That's the way we used to do it. Now, my good friend and I made butts out of ourselves one year by overvaluing Under Armour game practices. A little quarterback by the name of Jameis Winston was there, and he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn,
right?
And just awful in the practice. I think we got kind of full of ourselves. And the guy was working with great track record with quarterbacks. He was the only one to have Marcus Mariota at the top 247. Mitch Trubisky was a 4-star by us. Nobody else had that number 1 pick in the draft. There were a lot of ones to point to at quarterback, and we decided not to make Jameis Winston a 5-star.
Yeah.
He lit it up in the game now, but yeah, and I got a text from the Florida State staff about it at the time, and they were hot. And looking back on it, that was one where I wish I had that one to do over. That's one I really, truly regret, because we overvalued a smaller sample size than we should have. We didn't take into account the kid was also a baseball player. Maybe he had been chunking the baseball around, getting ready for high school baseball season. Didn't take any of that into account. Oh, no, it's just the practices, right? So you get in trouble as an evaluator that way. And I learned my lesson. But yeah, it's more about the practices down there and going good on good and things like that. But I think Kennard's going to play. I don't see why he wouldn't. I think even Deebo Samuel will play in the actual Senior Bowl.
Right.
These all-star games, you don't really risk the injury kind of thing. And I've said before, I think Kyle Kennard opted out because he got some advice, which I think right, because here's the thing. Kyle Kennard probably it's a battle to get selected in the first round this year as an edge rusher, even if you're an All-American or whatever that he was. And he could play his way into it. If you get hurt in the Citrus Bowl, you may be staring at the fourth round. And there's such better money in the first round that is a case where any kind of injury and anything could happen. You know, you're risking potential millions based on the situation that it is. Same reason I didn't really blame Rocket Sanders for cutting out. Rocket's going to play in, I think, the Shrine game. I think he'll play. But all-star games, you wait. Well, the minute somebody gets hurt and blows out, you know, it costs them a draft spot, they may just play a scrimmage or 7-on-7 or something. Right. You know, it's just one of those things. Bobby asked if Jameis had his glasses and contacts. I don't remember Bobby. I wish I did. And I wish, you know, I'm going to own it because I was part of the team. I don't know that I was necessarily driving this bus, but I backed up my guy and you know, and he's was rarely wrong. That was just one big one that people probably should always remember. And I should always be shamed and on the stupid list for that one too. So I got 2 entries on the stupid list today, Phil. One from back in 2015.
That's right.
Oh, no, that was 2015. God, Jameis won a national championship in 2013.
Yeah,
that was like 11.
Yeah,
it was 11,
even maybe 10.
Yeah, class of 2012. Class of 2012 because
okay.
he won it as a redshirt freshman. Class of 2012. Yeah, because I remember my buddy. We flew from Orlando out to San Antonio and stopped at his house, and I remember watching the LSU Alabama championship game with him. So that was class of 2012. So yeah, 13 years ago.
Yeah,
I should pay for that. I should be publicly shamed and flogged for that.
I mean, to your credit, and nobody could have known this, I guess, at the time, but, you know, Jameis could have gone out there and thrown 5 interceptions.
I mean,
that was well within the realm of possibility. So you could have looked like a genius. It's not that big of a dice roll.
It sort of played out that way in his pro career, right? You know, woefully inconsistent.
I mean, he's a random, you know, outcome generator that way.
Crab legs. My man, random outcome generator. So anyway, but yeah, that was a bad call by yours truly. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll play in the actual games. And that's how it goes. You know, you kind of wonder sometimes a guy opts out of his team's bowl and then plays in an all-star game, and you sort of wonder about it to a certain extent, but it is what it is. I don't ever look at that. I look at what is the downside and upside. Like, okay, so Nick Eamon-Warray, and we settled this. Beamer mentioned it the other day. Everybody regrets how that went down, including Eamon-Warray.
Yeah.
It sucks. It was bad. It should never have happened, but you know, hey, it's embarrassing in a lot of ways, but give him a pass. He played a lot of great football around here, and is going to play a lot of great football in the future, and it is helping the program recruit and attract new talent. You know, I just think he made a bad judgment call and didn't think it. You know, sometimes we do things, we don't think them through, Phil.
Yeah, especially when you're that age. I mean, you make some seriously ill-advised decisions.
Yes, very much so. But you know, that's that aside. You know, like Kyle Kennard, you see the logic, and yeah, if it were me or my son, I would probably say, look, you know, this is a bigger gamble than most. Some of these guys that opt out, JJ Enigbare, for example, and I love him. I love JJ Enigbare. JJ Enigbare plays in the Mayo Bowl. He's a 5th rounder. JJ Enigbare doesn't play in the Mayo Bowl. He's a 5th rounder. I didn't. Zach Pickens, probably a 3rd rounder, no matter what. I don't know that it would have mattered. Deebo Samuel, completely understood. That was the first year in his football career he ever made it through the season.
Yeah.
In a makeup game against Akron, he's down there on punt coverage, tackling dudes, forcing them to fumble and scoring touchdowns on special teams, covering kicks. That's not a me guy. That's my body has failed me too many times for me to go out and play Virginia. And that was fun. It was costly, but it was fun. You understand that. I understand Rocket Sanders completely. Running backs, probably. And I do. If you'd have asked me in October, I would have said if Carolina makes a bowl, Rocket Sanders is going to opt out.
Yeah.
I would have just, you'd ask who's the most likely to do it, it was Rocket Sanders. I mean, just because, you had a recent bad injury, he worked his ass off to recover from it. Running back value props, in the NFL. I mean, you're not, no problem with that at all. Zaquandre White opting out to not get drafted. In 2021, Kevin Harris didn't opt out, had a big Mayo Bowl, and got drafted by the Patriots. So,
I was there for a couple of years.
Who knows? From the Nana Sports chat box, Tiffany says, JC, your small victories was cool. Yeah, the post on the message board. We need to talk about the 90s so we know how far we've come.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The 90s were a great decade. I wish I could go back. I loved the 90s. Phil loved the 90s. We all loved the 90s. We loved the music. It was just it was a tremendous decade in many, many ways. The world was kind of a calmer place in a lot of ways. Carolina football, disaster.
You don't want to relive that.
No.
However, you're right. It is good for perspective.
The program had just come into the SEC. There were a lot of times where the Gamecock program kind of teased you a little bit. The first year under Tannehill that we've talked about, where they came back. The Brad Scott winning the first bowl in school history with Tannehill. The vast potential of Anthony Wright. At the end, you hired Lou Holtz, and he went 0-11 to close the decade out. Most of the good players from the state of South Carolina. It was like basketball, man. Like basketball is currently, hopefully, changing, where there were a lot of good players in the state, and they didn't even consider Carolina. Most didn't consider Clemson either, and that's why Clemson was also sort of down, because Clemson was way more in-state heavy than they are now. And so Carolina would battle for the scraps from Longshank's table, quote Braveheart. And there was enough talent for both teams to be competitive, but Clemson hung a lot of 7 and 5s. Clemson finally bottomed out under Tommy West at 3-8. The year Brad Scott went 1-10, they both got fired, and Bowden and Holtz came in. But that was the first kind of 8 years or so in the SEC, and I pointed out, Phil, on the Big Spur, and this is not something that you put in the trophy case. This is not something that you necessarily have a parade for. This is not something you really even talk about a lot. But Shane Beer, I read it, and it was one of these generic college football Instagram accounts that they love to just bring up random stuff and sometimes kind of poke at other people. And it's like, I don't know if it was meant to be a slight or what. And by the way, somebody wrote, was it ESPN? I don't know who wrote, Beamer got the contract extension 9-4, one of the best years in program history. I don't know that necessarily it was, but that was kind of a slight, and people on X were like, of course, chirping about it. Nevertheless, here, there are 5 coaches that have led South Carolina to 9 or more wins, and Shane Beamer is one of them. Therefore, we kind of know who they are. Well, here's the good news that Beamer won 9 or more this year, but also the last 3 coaches before him did as well.
Right.
Lou Holtz had a 9+ win season. We know what Spurrier did, 9, 11, 11, 11. And then Will Muschamp won 9 in 17. That was very favorable schedule. That was kind of a fun year, except for the Clemson game and the Kentucky game. Good God. But, you look back on it and it's like, well, this program, it can win. It's not just one guy that came in for 10.5 years. That guy, Spurrier, deserves a lot of credit, right? Yeah. He's the GOAT until he's not around here. But I think the program got kind of started under Holtz as far as taking that next step. I mean, Carolina didn't even won a bowl game until 94. Their second bowl game in 2000. And it only been to 10. That first Outback Bowl, the one Ryan Brewer went crazy that you see on the commercials, that was the 10th bowl game all time in 104 years of Carolina, 108 years of Carolina football, right? And bowl games mattered a whole lot up until kind of recently. But it hasn't been a situation where Carolina's hanging 6-6 on the board every year and going to, and just sneaking into the Independence Bowl and claiming this. They've been to more bowls, bigger bowls. They've postseason. They've had winning records in the conference, and they've done it all in the toughest conference in America. Bar none, the last 25 years, nothing compares to the SEC. Is it something that you sit there and brag about? No. Can you tell your Georgia buddy all about it? Well, the last 4 coaches have won 9 or more at least once. No. But compared to where it's at, it was accomplished before then. Absolutely. And that's what's the little victories. I mean, that's you kind of look back on it, you're like, man, you could go back to the 90s when, man, the CarQuest Bowl of 94 was a huge deal. 25,000 in what is now Hard Rock Stadium down there, or Landshark Stadium, whatever the hell they're calling it, in Miami to beat West Virginia. So, that's kind of my point there. And that was my point with says decade, Brad Scott, Russell Athletic. Yeah.
I know, yeah.
Wally Burnham.
It's just
those that lived there in their time. Yeah, you know what though? I had more fun going to the games back then than I do now. It's because I was younger. It was still exciting.
Sometimes your only other option was to pay, $50 to $75 to watch the game on TV.
Yeah, pay-per-view.
No, you don't have to do that.
You pay $100 to watch the Tyson fight back then. Bobby mentions the daily Braveheart tie-ins are one of my bright spots of the day. Yeah, it's one of my favorite movies. Tell them Scotland is free. I'm not finished. Anyway. Clint says, I definitely appreciate the wins more because of it, Tiffany. He sat through every home game in 98, 99, last with the younger fans complain about going 5-7. Oh, yeah, you'd have thought it was the end of the world at 5-7.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, put Beamer on the hot seat because of it.
And Krager from the Down in this chat box does point out Anthony Wright's son. We've had Anthony on the show. Khalil just committed to Ball State, so hats off to him. He's playing FBS level football. A good player, I think. Really good player. Bruin says he was in 7th grade and in study hall they rolled in the TV to watch the CarQuest Bowl.
Nice.
I wasn't in school. I was at home. I remember where I was. I was at home that day watching. It was January 2nd. Mm-hmm. I think we had one more day before we went to school. I don't know. I wasn't in school.
3rd was typically the target day to head back to school for us. That was, I don't know, it's probably the same in Spartanburg, I would imagine. Probably very similar. Yeah.
I don't remember exactly how that all played out. I just remember being at my house and watching it. And I don't think I was skipping school that day. It wasn't because I would have remembered, hey, I skipped school to watch it, but I don't.
Right.
Was. So yeah, Gamecocks. That was a win for Carolina. at the time, but those were lean times. I mean, really at that point, only like, I guess around 95, 96, Carolina was only 16 years removed from Frank McGuire leaving as the basketball coach, about 24 years removed from the ACC glory days. Eddie Fogler was building a good program. He won the SEC in 96. That's what led to the monstrosity of a basketball arena. Because the Carolina Coliseum, I mean, at that point, you'd ask anybody, baseball's always been good. That was kind of right. Tanner got hired during that era and got baseball back. And Coach Raines was just at the end of his tenure. And as does happen sometimes, the program had slipped a little, but baseball was always, hey, Carolina's got a program. But back, you'd ask anybody what sport South Carolina could really achieve at in the SEC, and it was basketball. Because back then it was basically Kentucky, sometimes Mississippi State, Alabama, those schools, they'd all go up and down like they do now, but it was nothing compared to what it is right now in the SEC. But it's basically Kentucky under Pitino and Mississippi State every now and then it was South Carolina's turn, and then Billy Donovan got to Florida and things started changing. But you would have asked me then what sport South Carolina or anybody, well, Carolina. Frank McGuire coached here, and Carolina used to be a powerhouse in the ACC. So basketball is going to be where it's at. And the Carolina Coliseum, Frank McGuire Arena, was filled to the rafters. I mean, and it was such a loud place too. I mean, it's a severely raked theater style deal. When they built it, it was one of the nicest arenas in the Southeast. They built it in like 69, but it was loud. The fans were right on top of you. It was darkish, had a kind of dark feel to it. The seats were all garnet black. But they were selling out season tickets massively under Fogler. And so they decided to build a new arena. The Midlands they kind of wanted a place for some concerts, I don't remember when Bilo Center. It was the Bilo Center. Now it's whatever the hell the French name. Right. Bon Secours Wellness Arena. I don't remember when that came along. North Charleston Coliseum was around that time. So the cities around South Carolina were building big arenas, and it was this big two, Mike McGee and the Athletic. They finally got it going. Yeah. And they opened, and it's nice. Colonial Arena is nice.
98 up here for that one here.
Okay, yeah. So the one in Columbia opened later. But if you're ever wondering why South Carolina built a 18,000 seat NBA style arena, that's why. Because they felt like at the time when they decided to do this, that basketball was back to being national, and then the worst year of Carolina sports probably ever was 98, 99, because South Carolina went in on the football field, fired Brad Scott. They did hire Lou Holtz during that December. Lost a bunch of recruits. Then in basketball, which had been to 2 straight NCAA tournaments, BJ Mackey's senior year, one of the best players in program history. They had him back, some younger guys, and it went 8-21 and 3-13 in the SEC. Terrible. The bottom just fell out, right? So it's not uncommon to go from an NCAA tournament to the bottom falling out in that sport. And then baseball won the SEC East, division champs, right? And it was they expanded to a 64-team field that year. So you're thinking Carolina's probably in. It's Ray Tanner's 3rd year, lots of optimism. And then the next year they won a bunch of games, and they got left out of the field. So that year was atrocious. But then things changed. 2000 rolled around. Ray won 56 games, and then basketball got a little better that year. They went forward with the arena, and then Lou Holtz turned it around in football. So that was the 90s in a nutshell. More to get to on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Want to ask you guys a little bit, since Clemson's schedule came out. and I'll leave you with this question. Did Clemson lose to the 4 best teams it played this past year? And yes, I know that SMU beat Louisville. I know that. But did Clemson 0-4 against the 4 best teams they played? I have some thoughts on it, but I want to hear what you guys had to say. Also, The Athletic writes an article about Georgia and Bama and apparently their demise. I think you have 1 year where you don't win the national championship at those schools, and I guess you're down. And so they explore some questions about NIL. I got to correct record as far as an article I read on 24/7 Sports about transfer portal grades. And here's another question for you. The final rankings are coming out for the 2025 class. Is it better than you expected it to be? And will it end up better than we expected back in July or August when Taylor Edwards left? They had a transition there and they lost some players. Could it be? I don't know. We'll find out when Inside the Gamecocks The Show rolls on, sponsored by the Average Jambalaya Corporation. Just kidding. Anyway, sponsored by Tony Pope State Farm, Carolina, Georgia. Support a Gamecock. Get great insurance. Please, if you sign up, wish to Tony Pope. Tell him you heard about it right here on the show. We'll be back after these messages. Top of the hour break. Final hour when we get back. ITG.
We got started in 1979. Because we're a manufacturer, we're able to control our costs. That's why we like to manufacture as much of the product as we can, because in our factory stores we can offer a competitive edge over other people around the country. When people come into one of our Palm Casuals, it's like they're buying their car at Detroit. They're going right to the factory and buying their car.
30-day money-back guarantee. That's a big deal with us. I mean, we give 30 days to do anything. I mean, return it, change it, get a different color, get your money back.
When you pull into a store and it says Palm Casual, you know you're at a factory store.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
What Right to Bear is we're an association of members across the entire country, and what we offer is we offer legal defense in the event of a self-defense case. Nice. So it's not insurance. So we offer an attorney in the event that one of our members might have some type of an accident. ProtectWithBear.com. We've got all of our social media accounts on the bottom of our website. We've got blogs, articles, detailed description of all of the coverages in depth, and we'd love to have you come check us out and ultimately get the protection you need.
Hi, I'm Joel Lurie. If you're turning 65 this year or retiring soon, you probably have questions about Medicare. How do I enroll in Medicare? When do I need to enroll? And what plan fits my needs and budget?
Why use an out-of-state call center when you can work with a local agency?
At Lurie Life and Health, we'll research your doctors and prescription drugs, and we'll help you find the plan that meets your needs and budget.
Lurie Life and Health. Our service is at no cost. Call Lurie Life and Health in Columbia, 803-256-2067.
Mike here for my good friend Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. Let's face it, it's been a rough go for mortgage rates the last couple of years. And now more than ever, you need someone on your side to get you the very best possible rate on a new mortgage or a refi. That's where Troy comes in. 27 years of experience working for you. Conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, rehabilitation loans, all doable with my man Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. And when I say doable, I mean the best possible rate that's out there. It's a phone call that can literally save you thousands of dollars. 803-238-0111. 803-238-0111. You can also check out the website ggmortgage.com.
Hey, this is Cornbread Cowboy, and you're listening to the show. We'll be right back.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more. Welcome to Palm Casual Patio Furniture. Because we are the factory, Palm Casual has the ability to offer the highest quality outdoor furniture paired with world-class service. Since 1979, our factory showrooms have done our best to make the buying process as easy as possible for our customers. Our understanding of the many factors that go into your decision has helped us create our 30-day trial period that increases the level of comfort our customers feel during the shopping experience. Visit us in Somerville, Mount Pleasant, Myrtle Beach, and Bluffton, and online at palmcasual.com for our products and out-of-state locations. Go Gamecocks! Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does nationally recognized the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Their turnkey process can be custom designed and takes 6 months on average. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com, thebarndominiumco.com.
Oh man, the building is on fire.
Emergencies and accidents happen. When you're in the middle of a fire or water event, all you want is for things to return to normal as soon as possible. Resto Pros of the Midlands is with you, guiding you through the process and working with you to get your home or office back in working order. They'll answer your questions, discuss procedures, and can act as your advocate when it comes to processing your insurance claim. Resto Pros Midlands SC.com. Open 24/7 when you need them. Quality that is guaranteed.
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks The Show. Of course, second hour of the show firing up now. I apologize for the extended break there. Wanted to get some technical issues hammered out, but we are back.
I used a different background too, because sometimes that, of course, this one makes my face look all weird. Screw it. You guys aren't watching this to watch my face. Right.
I don't know, man. You never know who's on the internet.
Yeah, on Google Chrome, everything is backward for my computer. So it's like a mirror image. Yeah, look at the Titan construction on my head.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, for us, it looks right.
It does look right.
It does. That's crazy.
What's giving me a headache?
I know.
Jeez.
It is kind of strange because I look at myself in there and I'm like, oh, okay, well, my shirt needs to be pulled or something, and it's the wrong side. Who knows it?
Look, man, it took me until 2011 to switch to iPhone from BlackBerry. I did not want to get rid of the BlackBerry. I am a caveman sometimes when it comes to technology. I've been using the Firefox as a browser for 20 years. But my stepson, who gives me some good advice at times, he was like, bro, Firefox is just ass, man. It's ass. And I was like, how so? It's just so slow, man. I'm like, so that's what's causing everything to be slow is my browser. But on this computer I record from, because I've got two now, because he also told me my laptop had way more memory and would run faster because it's newer. Yes. So I got the laptop over there with the big wraparound screen that I kind of edit and write and all that on. And then I have my little studio over here with the green screen, right? And but I haven't updated everything to Chrome over here, and Firefox has all my passwords saved and things like that, and so I'm still trying to use Firefox I'm still trying to use the BlackBerry up in here
trying to use a black
on an
That's
older.
right, at least you're not on edge
on
anymore.
an older computer. But no, it looks good now. I'm not, the spinny circle of death isn't happening. You will avoid some customer service agent in Sri Lanka for Verizon getting cussed out today. I'm just kidding. I'm not like that. I used to be. So somebody's hearing something from me, but then that became known as a Karen. And you know,
I had one moment like that here recently. It was right after the hurricane.
Oh God.
Yeah, at Spectrum, and I just lost it
Oh,
because he laughed at me. And the
no, yeah,
customer
that's
service representative literally asked me this question: "Well, have you ever been in a hurricane before?" And then that triggered something in me that I just could not stop. And I'm like, "Who the bleep do you think you are asking me?" I'm like, oh yeah, it was fun. It was fun. It was a bloodletting.
That is that
No.
one would have lasted to me. You know, up here I've noticed like the doctors and the healthcare people do act like that. Like they act like you owe them a debt of gratitude for going to the doctor. And I'm like, well, you know, in this country, most of us pay for this, you know. Last I checked. So I don't think you're doing me a favor. I don't think because I'm paying these astronomical amounts that it's fair for the doctor to only work between 10 and 1 on Tuesdays.
Oh God.
And
Yeah,
you have 150 patients. No, seriously, I had a surgeon, you know, I'm like, and that's a minor surgery, right? Really easy procedure. Oh, he doesn't work afternoons. So I'm just out of luck. We can refer you to another surgeon.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, well, why don't you do that? And then they referred me. Well, it's going to be 3 months for this lady. I'm like, well, I'll just go back to the original guy. I guess I'll just miss my job.
Yeah. Right.
You know, later before the insurance picked it up, because I guess the insurance, I guess one hand doesn't talk to the other. And so the insurance hadn't, so I get a bill for $18,000.
Oh my God.
I'm like, that cost me $18,000. But you're going to, and they're rude about it up here too, because people are not as nice as they are in the South, obviously.
No.
They're nice in their heart, but outwardly, I think just because they've been beaten down by the weather and the taxes and the government and the corruption and the mediocre things they have to pay through the nose for, including this internet, you know, that they're just beaten down by life, and they don't have the soul to be nice to anybody unless you're in a bar and they've had 12 beers. At that point, everybody's nice or not. So anyway, back to Inside the Gamecocks The Show, final hour, brought to you by the Barn Dough Co., built by the Barn Dough Co., actually. J.C. Shurburtt, Phil Mullinax. Virginia Tech has a new D coordinator. That's relevant because the Gamecocks play them.
That's right.
In the opener. So Mike Shula will be matching wits with a new D coordinator, also with an NFL background. Sam Sefkis or Sefkis? I don't know. Somebody told me today on the Big Spur that my strength is not pronouncing names. I did talk to somebody about Brady Smeagol, though, and I do think it is Smeagol. So that's
okay, good.
On the phone, a contact, if you will. But, you know, I like this guy's background a little bit. You got to kind of connect the dots to maybe get an idea of his philosophy. First of all, he coached at Wisconsin Platteville. Those Wisconsin Whitewater, those little branch Wisconsin schools are good at football at that level. A lot of good coaches come from there. So that's impressive. Then he was in my hometown of Sparkle City, Spartanburg. Wonder if Mike Young had anything to do with recommending this guy, but he was there from 18 to 20 under Josh Conklin, who was the coach at Wofford. They fired. Now they got the other guy, but whoever they got now, he's not that good. So he coached under Conklin. Conklin, of course, came from Pitt as the DC, and he worked under Narduzzi. So is this a Narduzzi tree guy defensively? You ask yourself that. He did coach under Dave Aranda as a GA at Wisconsin, and then has been in the NFL since. He was a linebackers coach for the Arizona Cardinals prior to taking this Virginia Tech job. So first time really getting his teeth into coordinating a defense. Sometimes guys like this are reaches, Phil. Sometimes guys like this are pretty damn good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think we've ever really had any hardline stances or opinions on defensive coordinators coming from the NFL ranks.
I have,
Like,
well, Steve Wilkes was god awful at Missouri.
well, yeah, that was terrible.
He was terrible in Missouri. Let's be honest.
That's right.
You know,
yeah, that did not work. Maybe that's all you needed.
well, guys like this though that hadn't necessarily been like if somebody hired Rex Ryan as the D coordinator in college, I would be highly skeptical of it working out. Right. I think Rex Ryan is an excellent pro D coordinator. I think Steve Wilkes was a more than solid pro D coordinator, but I'd be a little skeptical of that happening.
But didn't Rob Ryan just get a job? Oh, he did. Look at that.
At SC, didn't he?
Southern Cal. Yeah.
He's a position coach, so he's coaching for DeAnton Lynn.
Yeah, he's the assistant head coach for defense linebackers coach. So
he always
got a co-coordinator almost kind of deal. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's what I call Hard Rock Harry.
Yeah.
Rob Ryan, Hard Rock Harry. Queen of the Cock says Wilkes is not a coordinator. When he ran the team as interim head coach, he was phenomenal, but his defense was never great. He was for the 49ers. He got fired.
Yeah.
After they had a pretty good year. I mean, when they go to the Super Bowl and he got fired after that. But his year at Missouri, they were solid till they ran into Josh Heupel. And it was that's right when we started thinking that first year Tennessee they kind of started catching fire a little bit. And then the next year, of course, was the year they were playoff bound till the Gamecocks beat them. But I'm sitting there watching that game, and gosh, man, Missouri. I mean, because Missouri had just destroyed Tennessee the year before, 50-something to something. Eli Drinkwitz ran it up against them. And I was watching that game. It was like 42-10 at halftime. And all Tennessee did was run the football. He couldn't figure out how to stop it. That's what was so frustrating about the Gamecocks bringing their guy from the NFL and that coordinator coming off a big win over Florida out to Mizzou and only putting up 250 yards.
Against an
awful defense.
Just terrible.
Drinkwitz did a great job, letting him go on down the road. So I don't know, guys like this that have just kind of been quality control or a position coach that do have a background in D2 coaching. I'll have to say that concerns me a little bit. And that's nothing against Mike Shula and the Gamecock offense. But from a scheme standpoint, number one, there's no tape on this guy. You can guess.
Yeah.
Number two, guys that coach at the Wisconsin Prattville area level can coach because you have to, that's why that's why Lance Leopold's a good coach. That's why Brian Kelly, as flawed as he is for LSU or whatever, is a good coach and wins. He coached at Grand Valley State for 10 years. Because at that level, the coach at K-State, Chris Kleiman. Everybody at that level, Phil, you don't have a big talent advantage. In FCS right now, the power center of that division of college football is in a place where there's maybe 5 top prospects that are even FCS level in an 8-state area every year.
Right.
And so everybody's talent level is pretty equal. You can out evaluate people, but it's coaching. I mean, you got to get out there and coach. And so I like guys like this. I mean, I think there's probably, if you added up all the assistant coaches and coordinators and the lower levels and it all was equal and they matched wits with people at the upper level, I don't know that just pure coaching, the lower level guys wouldn't win.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it's like any business though. You got to break in. I mean, there's C-list actors that can act circles around the Academy Award winners, in my opinion. Oh no, I'm not talking about like Daniel Day-Lewis or anything, but
no. But some of the ones who are merely celebrities, more celebrity than they are craftsmen.
So that's good. But Queen of the Cock says they had a good year, but his defense didn't play to the potential. San Francisco had a loaded defense that year. I mean, I agree. I'm not saying the guy was elite. he was just much better in the pros than in college. That's the whole gist of this Queen of the Cocks. So, so there you go. I like the fact this guy coached at Wofford before they got mainstreamed.
Right. Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't think Chris Marv, who I covered as a recruit, makes me feel old. I thought Brent Pry just kind of put him in that position as a first-time coordinator, and it doesn't surprise me that they were inconsistent and they had to make changes. So this is just something to look out for. Of course, you got Mike Shula calling his offense for the first time, because he did call the Citrus Bowl. But as Tony Morrell pointed out on our site right after the bowl game, basically there was no time to kind of install much of the tweaks. It's going to basically be the same thing. They're not throwing everything out and starting over, but there wasn't a lot of time to kind of put his stamp on it. So they basically, it's hard for me to think that the 2-back thing with Maurice Brown at fullback, I like that, by the way.
Right.
The lead blocker wasn't his idea because we didn't see it all year, but it was in the playbook somewhere. And from what Tony reported, he leaned on Sean Elliott a lot, Mike Fury a lot, and the rest of the offensive staff to kind of put the game plan together for that. So I'm curious to see, what he comes up with, where his college offense, I think it's going to be quite good. I'll say this, they need to find the sweet spot with Lenora Sellers as far as when to run and when to hold into the pocket, because it's been extreme either way, but that's a fine tuning thing, Phil, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's experience.
That's find that sweet spot and be consistent with it, because I think the layoff and probably the emphasis on sticking with it. And, he gets out there and he just wasn't as willing of a runner in that game. And some people ask, well, what's changed? Well, 30 days has passed. That's what's changed. Number two, that's probably something that, because you're always working towards the future in bowl practices. It's a developmental time before you leave for the bowl site. So they're probably trying to get him to stick in the pocket a little more. Everybody said it. Beamer said it. Shula said it. Dowell Loggins said it. Lenoris himself said it. And so there's probably an overcorrection that took place.
Yeah. I mean, look at it, that's an evolution that even players have to go through at the next level. I mean, look at some of the tendencies, like some of the bigger names, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson have had when they first got to the league, and how you have to kind of continue to develop that out of them, or at least not out of them, but into more balance, right? It's all about balance.
And it's just like anything in sports that's hard, and playing quarterback is hard. It's harder than we think. It's not like Xbox where you drop back and the AI generated quarterback runs the exact play that you call, and all this stuff. There's a human factor. Things break down. There's your arm, the ball may slip. You never know. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we don't even think about. And playing quarterback's hard, pitching's hard, all that. So it's about finding the sweet spot, and it's a fine tuning thing. The Queen of the Cocks in the Nana Sports chat box points out Lamar stays in the pocket a lot more than he did his first 3 years. It was his fight or flight move when he was young. Now he'll step up and throw it. And that's the thing about it, is it's not so much don't ever run.
Right. No.
And crazy thing about the Illinois game was he had a lot of time. It was almost like he was like, oh crap, I got all this time. I'm not getting pressured. So there wasn't that natural, like Queen mentions, the fight or flight. There wasn't that, because he had time, and it was almost too much time.
They schemed it up to where you can make the read, and it's like, wow, this is foreign.
Yeah. So, but I think they got to find the sweet spot there. But certainly that coordinator matchup is going to be interesting, because you got Shula putting his stamp on the offense. Year 2 of Lenora Sellers against a first-time coordinator in college that has a hell of a background. I think people. I'm just saying, don't underestimate this guy and the way he can scheme up, because this is the type of hire that everybody kind of groans about. Virginia Tech fans are not happy on social media and on the message board, because it's like, who?
Yeah.
But this is the type of hire that ends up being sneaky good. Now, you may seem to think that maybe some would have said that about the Marcus Satterfield hire. Yeah, it could have been sneaky good. It was atrocious. But that's more about like what his plan was than what it was. And I don't think Marcus Satterfield, if I'm looking back on it, I don't think he put in his dues coaching at a D2, did he? Maybe he did.
I don't know. If
I
he
don't,
did,
I
it
don't
didn't
care
show.
really.
He didn't let that come out in him.
If you're the Gamecocks, let's hope it's a disaster like Marcus Satterfield, at least for one game, and everybody's happy in Atlanta and a win.
Yeah, and then let them roll through the ACC, and we'll see you in December.
Yeah. Tiffany points out a good thing. You can have too complex of a defense asking for all the checks. If they think too much, they play. So yeah, that's what happened under Will Muschamp.
That's the Muschamp
with the defense. And it just when he was at Florida, he always had a really good defense, but they had a lot of really elite players, and that's the difference sometimes too when you talk about how can Georgia run it and Alabama run it, and Carolina can't. And how does Carolina have all these NFL guys on defense and they can't stop anybody? Well, a lot of times, like when you're Alabama under Nick Saban, I talked about the critical factors, Phil, earlier.
Mm-hmm.
One of those is football IQ, because you have, and so you don't have a lot of highly developed football IQs at safety around the country in high school football. You have ballers, you have guys that can play, but they're not running anything complex, right? And it's hard to dig into the evaluations on that, right? And if you do have a guy with great football IQ and all that, a lot of times he runs 4.8.
That's right.
He's in the right place, but he's limited. Those dudes at safety that can do all that, there's only one or two of them, three of them a year. And they all go to Ohio State or Alabama, and in some cases Georgia. And so you can run that. And they went to Florida when Muschamp was there. So that was an issue there. But anyway, I do want to point this out before we get to the final break of Inside the Gamecocks, the show, about the word bruh.
Oh my goodness. I hear it all the time. And it just grates on me because I hear an 8-year-old just like, bro. I'm like, I swear to God, you call me bro one more time. And that might be the last word.
My wife gets called bro.
I'm like, it only happens one time to my wife around this house, and she was like, you call me?
Oh my God, I can imagine, dude. That probably did not go over well. No, Nat corrects it all the time. I'm not a bro.
Yeah,
but he's just so used to saying it. I heard him on the phone one day, and every other word was bro. I went to the store, bro. I'm like, when did that become? I mean, that's like the 70s, dude. It's like the 70s are coming back. But Bruin says his 8-year-old called his mama bro last night.
I missed that. Hold on,
whoa!
I missed that.
And then Bobby says, "I coach a 9 and under travel baseball team. I hear bruh in my nightmares now."
Oh, I bet you do, Bobby. I hate that.
Oh, my dear sweet brother Noopsy. And that's funny. That is so hilarious.
Right? Yeah, of course it was.
Oh man. Lance also put an Instagram post up, I think, or something that said, rock songs turning 20 and 25. How many Creeds on there? Are there any Creed songs on there?
Lance,
what was popular in 2020 in 2005?
Whew.
I was still stuck in the 90s.
Yeah, same. I was probably fighting against it. Whatever.
I know Creed came along around the turn of the century. I remember that. Or really, maybe even before. Yeah, 99-ish. Bro.
A sandwich, bro.
Elder says as a 32-year-old taking college classes, he still says dude. I say dude too.
Yeah, dude.
So is bro the new dude? That's the question of the day. Bobby says a couple of Creed bangers. It's worth a listen. All right. Hey, the best concert I've been to, by the way, everybody in the chat box, what is the best concert you went to in 2024? If you went, Some years will go by.
Oh.
I don't.
I know my answer to that already. Yeah.
I'm gonna say, Phil toured the world.
The could have been well.
Phil was. I got a video for Phil one night. Dinosaur Jr. was playing. I was like, I didn't know Phil liked Dinosaur Jr. And he was at the who was it? The
the Weezer show, which is the
Weezer
answer
show,
to the
Dinosaur
question.
Open. I was like,
yeah.
I love that dude. But mine was Creed.
Nice.
The wife and I went one night. We the Creed. There's an amphitheater, kind of like the one in Charlotte, like really like in Tinley Park. Her parents live from here. Chris Stapleton's coming there this summer. It's this big outdoor thing. It's really cool venue.
Nice.
I'm definitely going to that Chris Stapleton show. But so Creed was coming. And I was like, because a friend of mine went to see Creed, and I'm like, they got a lot of good songs.
Oh yeah.
I didn't care for them when they first came out.
I wasn't a big Creed guy either, but you know what? I could see where that would tap into your that younger side of you. That
it grew on
side.
me a little bit, and I was like, well, they got about 8-9 songs when they're on the radio. I don't turn it. Dude, it was a great concert.
A lot
we had a
for nostalgia.
Now there was a rain delay, and I guess the state of Illinois can't tax beer while it's raining, so they make you cut it off. So that sucked. We had seats under the covers. We didn't get wet, but they like cut beer cells off because of the lightning. I'm like, what? You have people sitting in metal bleachers,
right?
You didn't make them leave. You're just cutting the taps off. I was like, I guess you can't tax it, or they didn't want people to get so drunk. But anyway, you know who else was at that show? Brandon Walker from Barstool.
Oh, from Barstool?
Who we had on the show. Like I looked on Instagram and he's down there. Are you ready? He's like, Creed. That was the best show I've been to. So how about you, Phil? And then we'll take a break.
Oh, I was all in for Weezer, and then Bobby reminded me that we did go see Hootie and the Blowfish. And yeah, I'm gonna go with Weezer because that was with Stella, and that was a great time. Dinosaur Jr. Yeah, it was a great time. Mm-hmm.
Lance says Nickelback. Lance, is this how you remind me of what I really am? I don't know if I've told this story. I'm gonna tell it real quick before we go. So I'm on Match.com. Single man, 2013, Nashville, Tennessee. And this girl, she was much younger than me. We ended up being pretty good friends, and nothing. We went to Vegas together, saw John Voight on a plane. That was fun.
That's fun.
But just had a good time with her. Nothing serious came about. Wasn't really all that pretty, to be honest. If I was going to have to deal with somebody, 13 years younger than me, she'd have to be, Anyway, I digress. So how I meet her is the best Match.com response of all time. She's like, if you're old enough to be my dad, don't respond. I'm like, well, I probably would have had to have had a baby young, but I could be. You could be your uncle. And then it was like, if you smoke cigarettes, don't respond. And at the time I smoked cigarettes, and I was like, oh, well, that's going to be a point of contention. And it's like, if you like Nickelback, don't respond. And I just like sent her a message. I said, is this how you remind me of what I really am? And she responded and laughed, and it worked. It was like a champion. There's two lessons to be learned there. Number one, if you're a guy, don't get really deep when you're responding to Match.com emails. If you are on Match.com, hopefully most of you are not, but if you are, and I know some people that have met husbands and wives on Match. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, I mean, you never know.
But a lot of folks actually. But so there's that. But then number two, don't believe anything women put on that thing. It's not true. Not true. No. All you got to do is make them laugh and be nice. Don't be too nice. Be confident and nice. Confidence, niceness, and funny. Man, you can look like a loaf of pimento cheese bread that's been in the sun for 3 days, and you'll be fine. There's my dating advice to all you single men out there. Inside the Gamecocks, the show will roll on. This is how you remind me of what I really am.
That's right.
After this final break, if you guys have any further recruiting questions, I'll answer them. Otherwise, I got more things to say. Again, a question I threw out there, and everybody got sidetracked with bro in the chat box. Did Clemson lose to the 4 best teams on their schedule that they played this year?
We got started in 1979. Because we're a manufacturer, we're able to control our costs. That's why we like to manufacture as much of the product as we can, because in our factory stores we can offer a competitive edge over other people around the country. When people come into one of our Palm Casuals, it's like they're buying their car at Detroit. They're going right to the factory and buying their car.
30-day money-back guarantee. That's a big deal with us. I mean, we give 30 days to do anything. I mean, return it, change it, get a different color, get your money back.
When you pull into a store and it says Palm Casual, you know you're at a factory store.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
What Right to Bear is we're an association of members across the entire country, and what we offer is we offer legal defense in the event of a self-defense case.
Nice.
So it's not insurance. So we offer an attorney in the event that one of our members might have some type of an accident. ProtectWithBear.com. We've got all of our social media accounts on the bottom of our website. We've got blogs, articles, detailed description of all of the coverages in depth, and we'd love to have you come check us out and ultimately get the protection you need.
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks, the show, showing a little love for our armed forces today. Like it. That one doesn't get enough play in the rotation since we had so many. It's interesting. Some of the stuff that I like that we've played over the years now. That's interesting.
I think that actually gets us that one. Gets us flagged.
Does it? Oh, I thought
I'm pretty sure that was the one. Maybe not. We'll see what happens today.
Yeah, we will.
What has Sandstorm in it? I don't really remember Sandstorm being on anything that we've done.
I think it's in a spot. Like, I think it's just in one of those spot blocks for like maybe 5. It's not even like playing throughout the whole thing. It's just enough to.
It's amazing that 1 second worth of sound could get your whole 2-hour video demonetized.
I know.
Anyway,
that's all right. We got our original tunes that are going to start rolling out here tomorrow, so we'll have original tune bumpers. Yeah,
that's awesome. So anyway, Lance does answer. Thank you, Lance, the one person that did in the Data Sports chat box. I appreciate you. They did beat the 4 best teams. I think there's probably some debate, but unlike the selection committee, I think Louisville is a better football team than SMU, even though they lost to SMU at home in overtime. Or was it overtime? It was a close game.
It was close.
It was overtime. Or no, SMU went to overtime with the mighty Duke Blue Devils. So yeah. So I do think Louisville was a better football team than SMU. I didn't think they deserved to be ranked 15th just because they waltzed in and won in Clemson and had played Notre Dame and SMU close. Remember when they beat Clemson in the playoff poll? They went like right to 16.
Yeah, it was nothing. Like it was nothing.
With 3 losses. They didn't care about the pretty record then, did they?
No.
What a bunch of put them on the stupid list, Phil.
They're already there. It's yeah.
But I'm already there. Anyway, Clint says the Palm Casual commercial. Tell me you don't hear that, Veronica Vaughn.
That Veronica Vaughn.
I saw. I think I shared it on Instagram today. It was one of those double memes, and then the top said, this teacher that worked at a school, their mascot was the Cougars. And it's like, congratulations to Miss Smith, Cougar of the Month. and the bottom was Farley, that Veronica Vaughn.
That Veronica Vaughn. I love it.
So,
I admit, I anytime we have Chad Holbrook on, and he's wearing that Cougs hat or whatever, I can't help but think about that.
My wife is 2 years older than me, so that makes me a cougar hunter.
That's right.
A retired one, actually. But Clint also says he believes so. So thank you, Clint. You did answer. I missed your answer because I'm getting old.
Yeah.
I'm a little slower than I used to be. But anyway, so that's good stuff. Clemson's schedule did come out.
Some of it. Has the whole thing been
The
released?
whole thing got released by the ACC yesterday. Everybody's schedule. I didn't know this. Virginia Tech's got the kill zone coming in to Blacksburg the week after the Gamecocks, and they play Old Dominion. But that's interesting. The Hokies get 2 SEC teams back to back to open the year. Let's hope the narrative isn't Virginia Tech beat 2 SEC teams back to open the season. I would hate to even be on the show and the website. I don't want to do that.
No.
No.
Oh God, that would hurt.
That Veronica Vaughn. Anyway, Virginia Tech bet on themselves big time. They did and they didn't. I mean, I think at the time the Vandy series was scheduled, they probably were like, well, Derek Mason's over there and they don't look like they're going to fire him. That's a nice trip to Nashville for our fans. We don't have to pay a group of 5 to come here. We get a team we can beat. Unfortunately, the kill zone is now a thing, and they're going to give Diego Pavia unlimited. That's going to be Vandy's equalizer. The NCAA is just going to rule, well, it's Vanderbilt. So what we're going to do for them in the interest of fairness.
That's right. Since they're handicapped,
we'll give Diego Pavia lifetime eligibility.
He gets to be their franchise quarterback at Vanderbilt.
Can you imagine like the Feinbaum episode on the day Diego Pavia retires?
Oh God.
In 2035?
Right.
Well, they already let Vandy pay baseball players for years. So I mean, why not let them have Diego Pavia for forever?
Right. I mean,
It's
one of the perks for being a private institution, right? You just get to do whatever the hell you want.
Just whatever. That's fine. Nah, I kid. I have a good friend that works at Vandy. I wish him the best. Was very happy when they beat Alabama just for him and the work. It's a tough gig. I mean, still, they can remodel the stadium all they want, make it look like a little mini NFL arena, have premium seatings, which I'm definitely taking advantage of next time I go there. Hopefully I won't be as fat because that was a problem. You ever heard of too fat to fly? I was too fat to cheer.
Too fat to cheer.
Couldn't fit because everybody's crammed in there, man.
Yeah, right.
I was like,
packed
usually you go to Vanderbilt and it's like you spread out, take up 3 or 4 seats, chill out, relax.
Yeah.
Put your beer under the seat in front of you or on the seat in front of you. Not that game. And then it was because the Gamecocks showed up and they don't, with their construction and stuff, they don't have enough seats. But boy, I'll tell you this right now, without question, the premium seating they do have done, the lodge or whatever the hell you call it, seating,
right?
That was the ticket. It wasn't that much more expensive than the seats I had.
Oh,
you don't have to walk up 18 million flights of steps. You don't have to wedge your butt in there. You don't have to worry about your wife that had a little bit too many vodka and waters at Hall's Chop House before the game. Bobby was there. He'll tell you, but it was cool. So
yeah, I got the ultimatum after the Missouri game this year. It was like, I am no longer sitting in the uppers. I'm like, okay. Heard.
Dude, we were in West Club, but still like the elevator, of course, before the game's at Williams Price's, there's a line.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't need to take the elevator. And it's good to have the exercise. And so we walked up the ramps and you forget on the west side just to get up to that. I mean, that's a haul.
Yeah, it really
even
is.
up the club. You know, you're
Mhm.
like your calves, and so
Yeah, I don't mind the ramps, but it's like because we usually sit in the south upper, so it's like once you get up the ramp, you still have about 3 flights of steps.
Oh,
to get to.
yeah. I'm not. I sat up there one time, Phil, once.
Yeah, I love the seats up there, but
Oh, they're great. Yeah,
yeah.
but speaking of Vanderbilt, it was the 2007
oh no
Vandy Carolina game where Vanderbilt won.
Yeah, no.
That was not a pretty game. So anyway, there's something that needs my attention in the chat box.
Yes.
Krager said, "What's Veronica Vaughn from?" Clint says, "Billy Madison." And Craig says, "I've never seen Billy Madison or Braveheart or The Patriot. I'm the worst."
Oh, wow.
Okay, so Billy Madison and Braveheart are classics.
For
The
sure.
Patriot was filmed in South Carolina. It's about South Carolina. Some people say it's a lot like Braveheart because it's got Mel Gibson, and I think those movies are different. Heath Ledger's in The Patriot.
I've never watched The Patriot start to finish in one sitting.
Really?
I've seen it all, but never just sat down and watched it in one sitting.
I have. I had some. They were filming it in Winsboro when I was at Carolina.
Yeah.
So there were some people in my theater classes that actually were extras and things like that. You know, were riflesmen, marksmen, and the like.
Yeah.
But yeah, Craig, I would recommend Braveheart's a longer movie, but it's got everything.
It's
Violence,
great. Yes.
history, witty dialogue, comic relief.
Yeah, right. Mhm.
Villains, heroes, characters you love, characters you hate, plot, love, romance. I mean, it is a tour de force of a movie. And it's good. I mean, there's a lot of good. I mean, it's probably up there with me as far as favorite movies.
Braveheart, yeah, fine.
Probably top 3. I would have to really sit down and think of what my actual favorite movie is. I know Braveheart, Forrest Gump would be in there because it had a little of everything as well. Forrest Gump was more cartoonish though, with the historical flashbacks.
Yeah,
but I still love that movie no matter what anybody says. A movie from the 90s called Reality Bites is up there. You know,
solid.
Anyway, those would be some of the candidates. But yeah, Craig, man, I would highly recommend that, and I would highly recommend Billy Madison if you just want stupid fun.
Right. If you just want to laugh.
And if you like Adam Sandler, like if you like Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison's good too. And then if you have time, watch The Patriot. I like it. I could take it or leave it. As we have with Mike Morgan, $5 or $10, it would be below a $5 for me. Braveheart's a Ben Franklin. Billy Madison's a Ben Franklin.
Yeah.
Tommy Boy is a Ben Franklin.
Oh, yeah.
And see, like with comedies and stuff, comedies in my mind are like in a different category, you know, like than just name your favorite movies. Although Reality Bites could be considered a rom-com, I don't really laugh. You know,
yeah, I don't know.
Kind of about coming of age in the 90s. It was one of those, that movie, Singles, Empire Records, all of the 90s. Those are our movies at the time. Kind of like The Breakfast Club in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the coming of age movies, but so like Billy Madison, the first Hangover, definitely not the second two. Major League, you know, all the comedies are, even Ghostbusters would be in like a different category for me.
Oh, yeah.
As far as favorites go, and I can't pick one over the other.
Yes,
if that makes sense.
Or one of those against, like, you know, something that's more of a drama or more like a film.
Julie says, I thought men preferred no plot. That's not true. Not always.
It depends on the genre of movie, Julie.
Yeah. I mean, look, I didn't like The English Patient worth of crap because you know why? It was a crappy, slow movie.
I did not like that either.
And staying with Daniel Day-Lewis's greatest hits, I loved There Will Be Blood. And it was a slow movie as well. It unfolded differently. So yeah, there we go. You know, The Notebook.
Yeah.
I don't watch it. It's sad.
It's sad.
It's compelling.
Just so sad.
But then Nicholas Sparks just kept going to the well too many times. I mean, it's like, you get to your wife or whoever drags you to the fourth Nicholas Sparks movie. It's like the same thing, The Godfather has entered the chat.
The Godfather has entered the chat.
Craig asked us if Clint asked if Craig's seen The Godfather yet. And he did finally watch it.
Yeah.
That's good. Oh, Steven mentions Dumb and Dumber. Yes. And I have a theory on Dumb and Dumber. It's a hidden love story about a man that goes the extra mile. It's also what not to do when pursuing a woman. Like that would be
right.
If you want to know what not to do, if you're doing anything close to what Lloyd Christmas is doing in Dumb and Dumber, don't do it. It's a good rule of thumb. And if I'm on a dating advice kick because my wife and I have been talking to a 19-year-old, 16-year-old. You got to give them the advice, right? You got to give them the good advice. And so that's why. But is the HBC really getting his own Netflix show? If that's great publicity for South Carolina, you mean Spurrier?
Oh wow.
I don't know. I know there's an SEC Netflix because they were at Carolina filming this past week, but it's all for all the schools, not just South Carolina.
Yeah.
Lance rolls Terminator 2 into the chat. Yeah, with You Could Be Mine by Guns N' Roses. I remember when that came out. That was pretty good. Eddie Furlong in that movie. Yeah, Terminator 2 was really good. That was a big hyped movie too, back when I was in high school.
Oh, big time.
Maybe I think 8th and 9th grades when that came out. Clint hates Ghostbusters.
Like I'm just the new ones or just the original? Really?
The original?
Come on.
I just can't. I'm just gonna ignore it.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna talk about it.
We didn't see that.
Craig's never seen The Natural or Field of Dreams. I've seen both. Field of Dreams would be higher on my list than The Natural, but the soundtrack from The Natural, I love.
That's good. Yeah, it's definitely
good. Bobby's like, Jesus, Craig. See, I know Craig likes music a lot too. So some people that are really into music they don't watch a lot of movies. I got to catch up on like Netflix shows and things, streaming shows.
I can't. Y'all are throwing them out so far, like all that stuff, this and that, and I'm like, I can't. I just can't. Like, because I'll get in there and I feel paralyzed. Right? It's too many choices.
Yeah.
So I just fall back on something that I know.
If I find one, and then here's my other problem too. I like to watch it on my phone, like at night.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, if I go to sleep, I'm going to miss half an episode.
Right.
And I feel like I've wasted all that time.
You got to go back. Right.
So Clint really enjoyed Landman. So did I. And if I lock in on something, I'll binge it for a few days and be done with it, which is great.
Yeah.
One of the saddest things ever was I used to watch, and I know John Whittle has watched this all the way through. I used to watch The Blacklist religiously. Like I love that show, James Spader,
right?
Yeah. And I lost, when streaming came along, I moved, things happened, life changed, wasn't watching as much TV, and I lost track of it. Right? I'd go back and catch up, and I'd lose track, so I just quit. Glad I quit because it just went to poop.
Right.
For the rest of the time, lost its magic. Queen of the Cock says saw it on the Always Reliable Facebook. Supposed to be exclusively about Spur. Be careful. Try to find out who wrote that because there's an AI bot that is written about the Gamecocks having a Netflix special and all this other stuff, and it's not true. Whoever's putting this stuff on Facebook, and look, if you have Gamecock friends who are on Facebook who don't listen to the show, they're not on the Big Spur, they don't really get on other social media but Facebook. So this bot writes this article about Lenora Sellers, and it was just made up about him holding out for more money. And I mean, it was crap. And most of the common sense people were like, this is fake. This is fake. Others were like, just let him go. All he wants is money. Just let him go. Who cares? We'll be fine. And I'm like, do you know how damaging that could be?
Yeah.
I'm not one of these people that wants to police obviously, because there are people out there that if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. I'll deal with the fake bot stuff. I think people need to use some common sense. If you're going to comment on a topic, please go beyond a poor. It looked like somebody wrote it in Portuguese and somebody translated it. Please go beyond that before you make a insulting comment about the quarterback of the team you profess to like. Right.
Right.
And I can say that because these aren't anonymous posters. People on Facebook use their real name, which makes it even worse. so be careful about it. But yeah, make sure, because that's there's been some discussion on that Netflix thing that hasn't necessarily been accurate. Lance says can't go wrong with Porky's. What a great movie.
There you go, Lance. That's a good callback.
So yeah, Craig says really into music. Watch every Gamecock sporting event if I have my choice. TV is always going to be on sports. Yeah, I get it, Craig. I don't sports. My TV rarely comes on unless it is sports. I watch on my phone and my wife watches on iPad. Craig could tell you a couple of things about Tool. Some say the end is near. Some say we'll see Armageddon soon. What's his Reverend Maynard? Is that the name of the lead singer for Tool?
Oh, maybe. I think you're right, though.
They're good.
Yeah,
my brother loved Tool. I mean, a lot of the stuff was really heavy. Everything on Facebook Gamecock related is always wrong. Yeah, that's unfortunate. And Facebook with media companies like we own, they stopped serving like we're down year over year with Facebook traffic, something like 50%, because they fixed their algorithm and it showcases the BS.
Right. Yeah.
And the legit stuff from outlets that, I mean, we would lose our contract with CBS if we put something like that out. Right. I'm not saying we've never tripped up on a story before, because you cover this stuff and it's hard. And there you'll find something that we've said at some point that we've been wrong about. It happens rarely. And we don't get sued for $5 million like some people that actually call themselves journalists. But anyway, Facebook Zuckerberg or whoever messed up the algorithm, and it's like, wow, so that's bad. As far as that's concerned. Bobby says stop being friends with them. Share Bays, never heard of them. That's why I rarely get on Facebook for that reason. Yeah. So block them immediately. It's not true.
Right. Yeah. No.
So Facebook is 80% AI. A lot of it is for certain. Bobby says Tool is amazing. Maynard names Keenan, my brother, is in a text.
Yeah, Maynard James Keenan. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, his brother is in a text with him. Okay, that's awesome. We need to bring back shows like Flavor of Love, I Love New York, and Merton Manor.
So my wife went through a rewatch of Flavor of Love. we didn't do I Love New York, but she did watch that. And it's funny to see, how things are different now.
All right, gosh, it's 12:50.
Oh wow, I didn't even notice.
Gosh, we're about to get off. All right, so wrapping up, I do want to say this. There is an article, speaking of mistakes, there's an article on 24/7 Sports by Grant Hughes, who does a good job with some things for us, works for our North Carolina side as well. I just want to point out, he graded the SEC transfer portal classes, graded the Gamecocks a B, which is fine. But there were some things that I just want to let you guys know, just because I know you read stuff on our network. So he goes, the Gamecocks lost. First of all, he said Aaron Nolan, if he was a high school recruit, would be the highest ranked quarterback in modern recruiting history to sign with South Carolina. That's not true. It's Spencer Rattler, who was a top 10 player. Air was top 40 player. So there's a little research done there. And then he says something about the Gamecocks missed out on many of the top interior offensive linemen and dinged them for that. They had 3 interior offensive linemen visit, and they got all 3. And they're excited about them. So I don't know that. I don't know where that. And I didn't go through and look at what he said about everything else, but I just wanted to kind of apologize for that, because that's, you read it on our website, and, I don't know who this person is. And like I said, I've seen him do a good job in other things. Maybe he's just not maybe that's something to think, but That's not true. None of that. Arizona is not the highest rated quarterback they've ever gotten had it been high school. And certainly the Gamecocks didn't feel at all. If anything, they think the interior O-line was a strength, and they didn't have like a parade of guys visiting at that spot. A better thing to say would have been, did they fill their needs at D tackle? They were kind of in the mix on some receivers and didn't get them for whatever reason, and they missed out on Justice Haynes. You say that, you're justifying your B. But yeah. So anyway, just wanted to. I had that on my list of things. The other thing I was going to talk about today, I didn't. And you guys can think about this because it's recruiting related. The 2025 class, the group of high school kids that are going to be in. Is that class filled? And we'll think about this until tomorrow. We'll continue the convo tomorrow. Think about this, folks. Is this class better than you thought it would be in August? For a number of reasons. And I'm looking at least according to the rankings, it's shaping up to be. I'd have to dig in to see what I'm, kind of dig in a little bit to answer it like I would. But think about this class, man. Is it one that surprised you with how it ended up? And is it better than maybe we all thought all cycle, which I kind of thought, 2024 was really good. This is going to be kind of a developmental class, i.e. these guys are going to take a while, not a lot of oomph, but maybe it has some oomph. Anyway, sorry.
Got the juice.
Yeah,
Maybe
got the
it's
juice.
Some juice.
All right, get us out of here, Phil, because I'm about to choke to death.
Yeah, that's all right. Yep, that's right. Looking ahead tomorrow, don't forget. Well, hey, we don't have to go tomorrow. Walkthrough tonight. Joe Machika. What is that, about 7 o'clock? Not entirely sure how the late night guys are going to handle the Tuesday night basketball game, but they may end up going live tonight or tomorrow. Looking ahead tomorrow, don't forget, 10 o'clock in the morning, JB is live again with the morning show. JC and I, Mad Dog, will be right back here with you at noon. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and we will catch y'all tomorrow.